And we're live. Hey, so welcome to another fun-filled episode of Cameos. I'm here with my friend Samson, and you know me as O'Shaughnessy. And today we are talking about the upcoming Marvel Cinematic Universe show on Disney Plus called Moon Knight. We got some thoughts. You know, everybody's seen the trailers at this point. I think I'm personally really excited for this one. This is probably, I don't know. I have really high hopes for this one. This one also has the most potential to really devastate me if it's bad. I think the most is riding on this one after like so-so performance by the Eternals and then Hawkeye.
You didn't like Hawkeye?
I think you're the only one in a group that liked
Seriously?
Hawkeye. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
that was not.
Wow.
Man, it
I
I'll say
enjoyed
this.
it.
I know
Okay.
this is not an episode about Hawkeye. We will be talking about Moon Knight, but just to roll back to the last thing that came out of the MCU Disneyverse, Hawkeye had maybe like an episode and a half of good material. It like started slow, got fine, and then ended not great. So I actually want to talk about this because this is something I want to talk about with Disney shows like the Disney episodic Marvel cinematic shows, you know, from WandaVision all the way up to now. But we'll get there. We'll get into that. I want to do a little rough comparison and see where we think this one's going to fall.
But now I think that changes our perspective on Moon Knight, right? Because you think it has to fix two sets of bad things that have come out. I think it just has to continue momentum. I didn't like Eternals that much, but all the shows, to me, they're all good. So it has to continue that momentum of a quality
okay
series. So yeah, we have two different perspectives on that.
Yeah, you're riding the roller coaster up.
Yes,
and I just did like a loop, but the roller coaster got stuck on the upper part of the loop, and I got really sick. And yeah, I'm definitely feeling like this one's got to prove something to me. But man, I could not be more excited for this. So you know, full disclosure, I did not have a ton of background on Moon Knight, but you know, as this universe continues to expand and grow, Nicole and I are like deep into the YouTube fan theories, the comic origins, and you know, if you're listening to this or watching this, you're probably like us and you just want all of the content that you can, because it has been some good stuff. I mean, I know I just shit on Hawkeye and Eternals, but those are the outliers. I'll say everything up to that point, because just this bar continues to be set so high. So we did our homework on Moon Knight a little bit, and I gotta say, I don't understand this comparison. A lot of people say this is the DC Batman equivalent in the MCU, and I don't get it. I think it's just because, you know, comparison from Moon Knight's background, my man's got multiple personality disorder, and one of those personalities is like a philanthropist billionaire. But I mean, aside from that, he's got like one weapon that they call like the moonerang or something like that. It's like, okay, but it's literally a moon that looks like a boomerang.
Master, and I think maybe that's where it's coming from.
Yeah, and he's a
Kung Fu
brawler.
Master, and all that stuff. And that's the Moon Knight that I know. But it looks like the show is using a mystic talisman storyline. I haven't read all those comics.
Yeah, so that was from the first comic, the episode or comic. Shoot, what was that? I can't remember the name of the title of the comic book, but he basically fights a werewolf in that. And the way that it starts is like, yeah, so the werewolf is in the title. The way that it like kicks off and they introduce this character is he's basically like a ex mercenary who's like out on patrol in Egypt, and he gets betrayed by his best friend, the Bushman, and his Bushman leaves him for dead. But then the god Khonshu comes and he's like, hey, I'll make you a deal. I'll I'll make sure you're good if you can be my, immortal body, to walk the earth. And that's how that character was born. But
Mm.
Mark, Steven, and I believe the other persona's name is Jake, are all just like, they were set up for this character to all like have different lives, and then at some point he just went crazy and the personalities started fighting with each other, which I think we see in that trailer. Like, this definitely seems
Mm.
like it's going to be harkening on that like very serious tone of like, this guy's fighting with 3 4 versions of himself, and I think there's like 5. There's a 5th one. There's like Mr. Moon, Mr. Night, who like walks around in a white suit and just like casually beats up bad guys. He doesn't do like the supernatural stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. I mean, I don't think they'll explore all of that in this first season. I think,
Mm.
what we'll see is definitely a lot of Oscar Isaac like transitioning quick between these 3 different personas, and then, that first episode's probably gonna close out on, I would imagine, our first like look at
Mm.
white
His true,
gown. Yeah.
yeah, that scene we saw in the trailer.
Where I think he was fighting a werewolf. It was either a werewolf or a jackal. So
What's that thing? A jackal? It's a
a
jackal.
jackal. It's a jackal.
Hold on, and I'm trying to find I saw a post about the like runtime and how many episodes there are. I think there are only 6.
Okay, so it's a
Six
shorter one.
episodes. Yeah, and each is maybe close to an hour. All the runtimes vary though.
Man, if they roll them over 40 minutes, that's probably gonna be
Hold on,
a
let me see.
record for these MCU shows that have come out. I mean, somebody can check my math, but I don't think many of them have run over 45 minutes. I mean, maybe like a season finale of something
Yeah, I
did.
found it. The first
Falcon
episode
and
is
Winter
45
Soldier.
minutes.
45 minutes
Everything,
is the first episode.
yeah, everything else is at least 50.
Wow.
Sorry, it's only 4 episodes actually. Oh no,
Oh,
no, it's 6. It's
shoot.
6. It's
Okay.
6. I'm
I was like, how are they going to fit that in?
6 total.
This better be the best 4 episodes I've ever seen. All right, so
Yeah,
6
nah, 6.
episodes, averaging somewhere around 50 minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. Yeah, everything up to now has pretty much been like 30 minutes. I can't remember if Falcon and the
Yeah.
Winter Soldier was
Maybe the last episode might have
yeah,
been a
that's what
little
I'm
longer.
thinking. That might have been a little bit longer, but I think those ran around 40 minutes.
And then
Um
I feel like the last episode of Loki also was a little longer.
mhm.
Um, but I think these are good. I think what they might do with this is it seems like they're introducing characters in the series and then bringing them to the films. So it's a way, like, remember when Kingdom Hearts came out and they put out like games in between, like 1, 2, and 3,
Yeah.
and those games like actually had real story in them that you could follow that made sense for actual 2. I think that's what they're doing with these shows. Everything you see in the show at some point matters in the movie, and like it's like it bridges the gap so you understand what's happening here in the greater universe.
Yeah. Well, to my knowledge, there hasn't been anything yet. Maybe Doctor Strange will be the first one of those where we see
Yeah, no, it definitely does that in Doctor
like
Strange.
What If and Loki. Maybe not Loki. I feel like Loki might play more into Quantumania. It seems like Doctor Strange is going to be a direct spin from What If,
The What If,
which,
yeah.
if everybody out there has not watched that because it's a cartoon, you are doing yourself a disservice. Go check that out.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they got a bunch of the original voice actors. It's just well done. It seems like it's going to be some episodic thing, but man, that show took a turn.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I see what you're saying. This we know that Moon Knight and Black Knight are going to end up together somehow. At least they work really closely together in the comics.
Yeah, I forgot what that team is actually called, and this bothers me. There's like an Avengers team that's they have an actual name, and I always forget. But yeah, I do agree.
Yeah.
I think it'll all tie together.
Yeah. So Moon Knight showed up in the Defenders for a little bit, which is interesting timing because they just brought all that Netflix stuff over. And
Oh, you mean the comic Defenders, not the actual Netflix show?
no,
Defenders.
no. Yeah, no, the
Right,
comic book origins of the Defenders. Moon Knight makes like a cameo in there. Moon Knight links up with Spider-Man at a certain point. You know, he was originally supposed to be, he was written as a villain in the first episode,
Yeah.
but then, or the first comic rather, they realized how popular this character had become, and then, you know, my man got his own like standalone series in the 80s, and it's a cool character. I mean, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
it's definitely a darker version. I mean, if you look at some of those comic books, like the Bushman was like literally tearing people's faces off and stuff. So I think it's really cool timing with them bringing over and acknowledging the Netflix Marvel universe, like marrying these together. This show in particular seems like it's going to have the darkest tone of everything. I mean, we got a guy that's literally like battling, you know, dissociative identity disorder. He's having these crazy hallucinations. Like, we've never seen scary stuff like that, where, you know, that like the god Khonshu's like walking down the hallway and it's like this old, like crazy, creepy looking thing.
Right.
I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I'm glad that they're embracing the different sides of, you know, what these comics are, because they're not all like Captain America, you know, walking around in these tights.
Not everything's fluff.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it too, because what we also have Blade and Dark, or not Dark Knight, sorry. Blade and Black Knight that have darker tones. So I well, like I said, or did I say earlier? I don't remember if I said it, but the Moon Knight that I know is just the straight martial artist, like Commander Taskmaster type character. Yeah. But I always appreciate a dark tone. Plus, that Doctor Strange movie is also pretty dark. I think all this will prepare you for like the dark features that you're going to see going forward.
Disney's setting us up to go into the next movie. Like, it's not going to be like happy Peter Parker's joking about their webs coming out of places. It's going to be like, oh, this is kind of like freaky, scary, fucked up stuff. I mean, that's cool. I think, you know, they got to cater to all their audiences. Doctor Strange is PG-13. They haven't made anything like R yet. Like
but Deadpool should be R when it comes out.
And those Netflix shows are R. I got like an email from Disney when they came over, and it was like, hey, your adult settings have been updated because, you know, I'm pretty sure Jessica Jones and Luke Cage like fuck a bed in half or some shit in Defenders. I didn't I didn't watch it, but I've heard that it's pretty wild.
They do.
There were parts of the Netflix universe that I really loved, so I'm glad that it seems like they're bringing them all in and marrying them.
And then maybe they'll combine, like you said, they might do a Defenders season 2, revamp it. No offense to Iron Fist, he was kind of bad.
Get rid of Iron Fist. I was just about to say, just scrap him.
I think they should rewrite him.
Shang-Chi. They don't need like 2 monk type people. Like, I think they like put their eggs in that basket. They're like, this is the way we're going with the monk storyline.
I wouldn't mind if they rewrote him and made it a little better for
and recast him.
Season 2. You didn't like? We could talk about that another time. But
I don't know.
I think adding Moon Knight into all that would be good.
So,
and I'm sure
all right. Well, speaking of other shows, I mean, you know, talking about where Moon Knight fits in tonally to all of the shows, I had an interesting perspective today, an interesting thought, where some of these Disney MCU shows have leaned really heavy into the performances and less on like the action and you know, the special effects are always going to be there, but like, okay, so for example, WandaVision and Loki immediately come to mind, where it's like those are driven by strong actors doing compelling storylines. Like WandaVision had its action at the end, but I would say that wasn't the highlight of the show. The highlight of the show was the whole experience of it. Loki was like just watching, Owen Wilson and Chris, what's his name? The dude that plays Loki. It's
Yeah, I don't know
completely
why I can't remember his
escaping
name.
my brain right now. I'm so
I
sorry. It's
can't
too
either.
late. We should have recorded this earlier.
Yeah.
Those two guys just going back and forth, and the setting that they were in, what they were doing, the special effects there were nice little sprinkles on top, but compare that to like Captain America or Falcon and Winter Soldier. That was a show that was driven by action 100%. Like, I think Disney knew that to get people to watch that, and for what it's worth, I liked the show, but they didn't lean on like Anthony Mackie and I don't know the dude that plays Bucky, but pretty boy Cap's ass. Those two guys, they're fine actors, but like, I'm not watching Civil War to like see their performances. I'm watching, like, the reason that I watch that is for the action, for the fighting, for like, and it did a good job at that. So
I think Marvel has always been good about, like, one, I always read Marvel comics because they had great stories, but also when they made their shows, they've always been good about using like characters that don't require the CG and letting them, choreograph and do what they do. Like, that's why you had Jessica Jones and Daredevil and Luke Cage and like Iron Fist as like, characters in the show, because you don't need CG. They're just fighting. It's easy to like sell and show. I think they've always been good about how they do that.
What I was leading to, I agree. What I was leading to is I'm curious to see where Moon Knight falls in that, because Oscar Isaac playing the leading man, like, that's one of the reasons that this show has so much hype for me. Like, I'm definitely, I think of all the people that I've heard are coming in to the MCU, his announcement, I think, was the most exciting to me. Like, he's such a good actor. I love, like, everything that he's in. It gives like bonus points because I've just never seen him be bad. Ex Machina, he was like such a scary bad dude. In Dune, like, he pulled off that Regal thing. Like, he didn't even have a big part. No spoilers for Dune, but like, his role in that was pretty minimal, but I still remember the scenes he was in because dude is awesome. And I'm just hoping that this shows off his acting chops. And one thing that would like spoil this for me potentially is if they just don't use him right, or, if it just falls apart. But
no, go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think a lot is leaning on that. And, to me, it seems like this show could go into that action genre, which I don't want to see. I want to see more of like a very well done version of this dude struggling with these personalities, and then he turns into Moon Knight and he beats some supernatural werewolf ass, and then he goes back. Like, I would be okay, because I would be okay with very little Moon Knight in full garb. I'm just expecting that. That costume looked very expensive to make. Like the CG costume, like he was full on like cowl. There was no part of that was like real stuff. So I think we can expect that that's not going to be very heavily utilized, or at least I hope so. Because what I really want to see is the character get drawn out and like a good story on that.
I mean, I don't think you can have a show about someone with a dissociative identity disorder and not focus on them struggling through their like multiple identities. I think that's probably what most of the show will be, with like a sprinkle. Like I said, he's still a martial artist at some point.
Yeah. Right? Do you see him training, like Oscar Isaac training?
I did not, but if he was training, then they're going to be some like hand.
Yeah, he was doing some like Krav Maga. It was crazy. You gotta check that clip out. I'll send it to you. It was pretty dope.
Okay, but it should be I think it'll be like a perfect blend, right? Like I said, I think Marvel is really good about doing that. Even with like Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think there's plenty of story in there, but they're also dealing with soldiers. Like, I think it's always a good mix.
Man, that had one of the best little sub stories with the old dude in Baltimore that was like, he was like, you don't know what they did to like the super soldiers that they didn't care about. And it was like, oh shit, I
was so happy to see him.
That was such a cool thing. Yeah, he was based off a character in a comic book, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
So
an awesome addition. I was like,
yeah.
oh man. And that wasn't even like the main plot. I mean, it drove the larger narrative of like a Black Captain America, but
Mhm.
his subplot was definitely like, it was like an episode and a half, but it was so good. And then when like,
Mhm.
because those scenes were set up so solidly, there wasn't a ton of action in there. But when you saw him like throw that punch and like break through the door frame or whatever it was like,
Mhm.
that caught me. And that's just the kind of stuff that I like to see, you know, even in a
Yeah.
show as action packed as Falcon and Winter Soldier. I gotta say, the stuff that stuck out to me the most was the good storytelling set pieces like that.
Mhm. And I think that's what we'll see in Moon Knight.
Yeah, I
Definitely.
just hope it's a ton of that. You know, I do
I
want to
think
see
I
him.
think it will
I do
be.
want to see him swing around and like kick butt. I don't want it to be. I want it to be more action than Loki.
I mean, like I said, it's 50 minutes each episode.
Yeah.
And to your point, the CG is expensive. It'll probably be like one main suit CG, and then a bunch of other scenes of him just, fighting
Yeah.
a sand suit and just running through people as he struggles through his
We'll see though. I
personalities.
mean, Disney like prints money at this point. So if they
Yeah,
make the dude run around in CG for 50 minutes, I wouldn't be shocked. It's just that it looked really, really good. It was like not
yeah, it did
bad
look good.
CG. I've seen
I was
like,
actually excited. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it looked good.
yeah. So we got this coming out next week. Moon Knight is dropping March 30th.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll definitely be watching it day one.
And then what? 6 weeks after that, I would assume we get right into Doctor Strange, and then right after
Mhm.
that, we get
Yeah,
Ms.
they're pacing
Marvel.
these out pretty good. They're pacing these
Yeah,
out pretty well.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I know you are.
I definitely am, but for
Everybody
different
out
reasons.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody out there in YouTube land or podcast, wherever you are checking us out, definitely let us know how you feel. Don't forget to join us on whatever medium you like best. We are on YouTube. We're streaming on Twitch. We got a podcast set up. So like and subscribe everywhere you can. And we'll catch you guys next time